what we do, 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 what we do. You done stepped in the home run of Gators. Where we get down, jumping on haters. Been here, got you running out of stadiums. Crack back, helmet to your craniums. If you really know how to get it, then you get it, baby. Come in, see crowd down the interstate. Don't think you wanna battle with the best. Get played, crown us like this. Alabama, Kentucky, LSU too. South Carolina, hold y'all through. Hey, I can't forget about Georgia, Florida State, hold y'all back. Either front through the house or the ball through the hoop. It really don't matter what it is, we true. Better have a game plan, cause if you don't, if you done. Florida, we know Gators.
Oh, yes, sir. Look, the boys in blue and orange. Ooh, nice hit there. Nice. That is just a little bump here, as we like to call it. Oh yes, and just a little warm up as we get you ready for another exciting night here on the Animal Football Insider. So great you could join me on this beautiful Thursday night here in West Des Moines, Iowa. Nice, warm, solid weather after the weather that we've been having here for quite a while. And, it's nice to just get away, just take care of some things, and for me just to step back and take a little bit of time for myself. But you know what? I am back and I'm better than ever. Hope that you're joining me as well. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We've been gone for quite a while. A lot of things have been happening during this time frame, but hopefully I can try and get you all caught up a little bit, and we'll get this party started here in just a couple of minutes. Now, I'm trying to do some things here with my show to try and get it going here, and you know what? Am I on live right now? Hang on, I think something's wrong here. Hang on just a minute, people. Okay. No, I'm on. Okay. So anyhow, this is a new thing that I'm trying here. Got a new feed. Going with the new browser, and hopefully to make this a little bit better for you. And so I'm going to get some feedback here in just a minute, so I apologize for that right now. But glad you could join me for my show tonight. We think that we have what's going to be an outstanding show for the next hour. We're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the things that they've been doing over the course of the last few weeks. We'll get into conversations about the Florida Gators, of course, and things that have been going on with them. And you know what I think I did? I know what I did here. All right. So hang on here. All right. So I think I know what I did here. So hang on just a minute here. All right. So. All right. I know what I did here. Oh man, I really screwed this up here because I thought I was going to be on in time, but I had to do reset program. Anyhow, I'm glad you could join me. We're going to have a great show tonight, and we have a lot of things to talk about, namely with these boys right here, and also, of course, the boys in blue. A lot of college football action is happening tonight as well. We're going to do all that as the night goes along. But, where are we going to begin with all this? As always, with my Pewter Power boys. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have they've been playing some very good ball. And the last time that I think that we joined you, I think that we were in a position whereby um, we had I think it was for the Chicago Bear game when they had played live on Thursday night, and that's right because we did a Tuesday night show, and that's when we decided to go with Tuesday night instead of Thursday night, um, and that's when well, not things roller coastering down more or less, but also, but in a lot of ways, things looking up for this team. It's what we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Because when the Buccaneers took on the Bears on that Thursday night, it was not the prettiest of games that we saw. In fact, if you recall, it was an atrocious game. They lost it 20-19, and everybody thought, well, the world was going to come to an end. Katie barred the door. Nothing's good is going to happen with this team. But wow, amazing what 10 days does in that process. Because that following week they took on the Green Bay Packers. Now that was a game that originally was scheduled to be a Sunday night contest, but it didn't happen because of the Packers having some COVID issues. They decided to move that game up to a four o'clock broadcast at Ray J. But man, what a performance did that team put together! And if you'll give me just a minute, I'm going to find out the stats from that game because I just got in here, people, so I'm trying to get some things going here. But man, what an exciting game that was with the Packers. 38-10 was the final score for the Buccaneers. But here's what was interesting. Here's what was interesting about that game. Not since 1989 did the Buccaneers not have a penalty in the game, and I think it was I think it was week 9. Somebody help me with this. No, that's the that's the Raider game. I have to go back to week 8 because I'm trying to find stats. I'm trying to find the stats from the game. So hang on just a minute. But yeah, that was a game in which the Packer game in which they didn't have any penalties that day, I should say. And speaking of the Packers, they're playing tonight. They're taking on San Francisco 49ers. They're up 7-0. The Packers are up 7-0 in the first quarter. But yeah, it was week 6, and the Buccaneers were taking on the Packers at Ray J. And I got it pulled up here. And what an outstanding game it was. They were playing against Aaron Rodgers. They were down early, and then all of a sudden, Katie barred the door. The Packers were up 10-0, and then all of a sudden, the Buccaneers just broke it open, scored 38 unanswered points during the course of the game. Sorry about that. But it wasn't so much the outstanding play of the game, it's the stats that came from that game. Because a lot of times, it's very rare if you're able to come away in a football game with 1, 2, maybe 3 penalties, you're doing pretty well. And given the history of what this team has been doing in the past, they were getting 7 penalties in a game, 8 penalties in a game, 12 penalties in the game. And you got to figure that for Bruce Arians and company, they knew that this was going to be a problem. However, this team really put it together in the Packer game as they did not have not one single penalty in the ball game. And the only time that has ever happened in Buccaneer history, you got to go back as far as 1989 when that happened. 1989, last time that the Buccaneers did not have a penalty in the game. And in that ball game, well, they really played some outstanding ball. Tom Brady was 17-27, 166 yards. Ronald Jones scored 2 touchdowns, ran for over 100 yards in that game. Gronkowski caught his first touchdown pass as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Since that time frame, though, the Buccaneers have really, since that time frame, they won three straight games, which included the Week 7 Sunday night game against the Raiders, and then they had that last Monday night they took on the New York Football Giants, and they won that ball game 25-23. And now they take on the New Orleans Saints this coming Sunday night, and on Sunday Night Football at home in Raymond James Stadium. We, of course, know now that the crowd is coming in a limited capacity, and hopefully the Buccaneers will be able to come away with the win. Now, let's see here. I'm going to just zoom in here, see if anybody's joined me yet. Don't see anybody right now, but there's still plenty of time. So hopefully you guys will be joining in. During the course of, after that last game, the Buccaneers needed an upgrade because they had an injury that was lost, and I forget who it was. So much has happened; it's hard to keep up with the team. But they needed, I don't want to say an upgrade, but an added weapon to their offense. So what they do, the Buccaneers signed free agent Antonio Brown to the team. Now, Brown has been serving a suspension here for a while. He's back. He had his first practice today, and we don't know if he's going to play in the game Sunday night when they take on the Saints. Of course, it'll be the homecoming for Jameis Winston when they play. So it's going to be interesting to see if Winston gets some playing time back in his home at the Ray J. So we're going to find out about that. Now, let's see here. As I said, we a lot of things have been happening here, and the Buccaneers entered the game with some question marks on certain players. Jamel Dean, he's been coming down with an illness, but he practiced today. Mike Edwards has a groin injury, and Chris Godwin still has that finger injury. They don't know if Godwin is going to play, and that, I think, was the reason why they went ahead and got Antonio Brown to add some depth to that wide receiver position. Ali Marpet has a concussion. He's been in protocol. We don't know whether he's going to play. We'll find out more on that tomorrow. And Scotty Miller, wide receiver, he's been hampered by a combination of a hip groin injury. He's been limited in the practice. Whether he plays or not, I think he will. They're not going to be held out. They're not, for a big game like this, after winning 3 in a row, I don't think that an injury like this is going to keep Scotty Miller out. Jason Pierre-Paul has a knee injury. He's been limited. Word is he might not play in the game. We'll keep an eye on that. And rookie safety Antoine Winfield Jr., he's been having a shoulder injury, but they expect him to play in the game on Sunday night. Now, for the Saints, here's what's interesting. Drew Brees has a right shoulder injury, and we don't know whether or not Brees will be able to play in the game. I have not heard. I've heard some rumors that they've been limiting him in practice this week. Now, whether or not he's going to get a chance to play, we're going to have to see as the week goes on. But right now, and so just checking here if there's any updates on Brees, whether or not he's going to play. But a lot of the stuff that getting on my Twitter feed happens to be political stuff. Well, we won't even get into that right now. So, but I did hear some rumors floating around that Brees was hampered by a shoulder injury, and he might not play in the game. So we're gonna wait and see what happens with that. Could we be seeing Jameis Winston get a little bit of playing time. Hopefully, I think for Jameis, you like to see him come back and play and have a good game and what have you. So, comment section here. I haven't even bothered to turn that on, so I apologize here. And as I said, you guys are more than welcome to join in the live stream here. And but yeah, they won 3 games in a row. They've been playing some very good ball. Hopefully, they can turn this into 4 games. We're gonna wait and see what happens with that. And I gotta tell you, in watching them play on Monday night, uh, they played well, and the defense I thought played a very I thought the defense played a very good game on Sunday night. Um, but as always, this team can get better. They know that. They know that there's always room for improvement. Now, a lot of people will ask you, why didn't they do this at the beginning of the year? Simple. If you stop and think about it, if you stop and really think about it here for just a minute, at the beginning of the year they looked sloppy. They didn't look great, but they could have looked a lot better, and I think everybody will tell you that. Now, it took this team a while to get going, and I think the one thing that most people have to understand, that with all the COVID issues that came up, and not having a preseason really hurt this team, and it hurt a lot of other teams in the National Football League. It just wasn't the Buccaneers, okay? But credit Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles and company. They were able to stay the course and just keep things going. They made a few changes, changed up a few schemes, and those change-ups really has produced some excellent results as they won 3 games in a row, and now find themselves, on top of the Central Division. I mean, if you really stop and think about it for just a minute, this is first place for the NFC South on Sunday. And we'll get into that. We'll get into that in just a minute. But Sunday night is for the first place in the NFC South. Let's see here, because they did. If you think about it, they held the Giants to just 357 yards total offense. They held them to 101 yards on the ground, and Daniel Jones was able to get 256 yards on the day. But if you really stop and think about that, their Alfred Wayne Gilman for the Giants, he was their top rusher on the day. He got 44 carries, 44 yards off of 12 carries. As far as the passing department goes, the 3 biggest guys are Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard. They got under 200 yards combined, would be off of 18 receptions, but they kept him out of the end zone. Only people that scored was Golden Tate and Dion Lewis. So what we're starting to see from this Buccaneer team is cohesiveness. They're starting to come together. They're starting to play well. Yes, they've been hacked by the injury bug here a bit lately with Godwin and several other players. But the nice thing about this team is that they're able to respond. And the second teamers are coming up, and they're making some great things happen. So Sunday night, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I said this was for first place in the NFC South, and it is because the Bucs are 6-2. Saints are 5-2 on the year. So this is a mighty big game for the Buccaneers to play. To be a center stage once again. They've been doing quite well. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens if they can take this team to another level, and we're going to find that out coming up here on Sunday afternoon. Now, as I take a look on things, you're truly the animal with you on a beautiful Thursday night here in the confines of West Des Moines, Iowa. Temperatures out here has been just beautiful, and it's been outstanding. Checking some things that is going on. There's been a few players that have gotten COVID, including a couple of players. Kendrick Brown of the 49ers. They said that he was tested yesterday, but now they're claiming, according to footballtalk.com, they're claiming that was a false test. So naturally he'll get tested again. So we'll see what happens there. So, well, that's interesting. And so that's what's going on with the Buccaneers. They've won 3 games in a row, and look, they just keep going. It's like the Energizer battery. They keep going and going and going, and they're playing some fantastic ball right now. And you have to begin to wonder. The more they keep going, the better off they seem to be. So we're gonna see what down the stretch here, as we get into the later part of the season. It's going to be very interesting to see how well they can carry this momentum. Because let's keep one thing in mind: they play the Saints this week. Then they do Carolina at Carolina. Then they have another Monday night game against the Rams on ESPN. Then the 29th, they have the Chiefs in Tampa. That's going to be a big game, because we're going to find out just how good this team really is. But now here's what's interesting. After that Kansas City game, that's when they'll have their bye in week 13. And that's when they'll play the final 4 games: Minnesota, at Atlanta, at Detroit, then back home to finish it off against the Atlanta Falcons. So they'll play the Falcons twice in 4 weeks. So really and truthfully, if you take a look at the schedule and see how it's working out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you kind of get the feeling that yes, that they have that momentum going for them. That if Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, that they keep things in a good perspective. That this team could do some very good things. So we're going to see what happens here. Again, yours truly, the animal, here with you on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. We've been so busy with a lot of things between my health and everything, which I'm good and everything. Haven't had the opportunity to grab any guests and talk some football. I did have one guy that might have been able to join us, but he was unable to. So hopefully we'll get him on next week. Just checking a couple of things out here, because see, I like to let's see here, and by the way, if you like the feed and it's a better feed than what you've been getting, I like to really know. Put in the comments section. Let's see here. All right. So taking a look at some things here. Let's see here. Okay. Now, one of the things about this team, and we caution you, is that Arians and company, they've been taking kind of like a subtle approach to things. They're not getting above themselves. They're keeping a good, mellow, business-like attitude. And if you hear them, and it's not just Arians. You take a look at guys like Antonio Brown, who met the media today for the first time, um, and other players like Gronkowski and Brady and everybody that comes on their Zoom calls. It is straightforward, business-like atmosphere. They might joke every once in a while, but overall, they've been keeping themselves and keeping it to themselves, and they've been um, handling this thing very well. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to see if some things are going on. How this reception is taking shape. Oh, okay, cool. All right, so that's good. So maybe it was indeed my browser here, because I've been my my broadcasts have not been the greatest. So I'm trying out some new things, seeing how they're working, and it looks like it's working very good. So I may be going with my Firefox browser going forward with all this. So, and of course, if you want to comment and tell me what you think about it, please go ahead and comment. Okay, so that's enough about our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now let's get into our conversations, and of course, let's talk about these boys right here. And of course, you saw them in the highlights, when we came on, and of course, these boys right here, the fighting Florida Gators, and just like the Buccaneers had things been happening to them, so had the Florida Gators and their situation and things that have been happening with them as well. Um, the last time that we joined you was on a Tuesday, um, and when we joined you, let's see here, because I'm trying to figure out, was it before the Texas A&M game, or was it after the Texas A&M game? I'm trying to figure out. If somebody wants to help me, they're more than happy to, because let's see here. So, because I think the last time we were together, that was the Tuesday before the Chicago Bear game, if I recall, and that game was on. That was on a Thursday night, and just trying to get an idea of when that game was. If anybody has a date on that, um, because I do recall. Let's see here. I'll get the date on that in just a minute, because it was right around the same time in which the Gators. It was right around the same time. Excuse me, in which the Gators were playing. In fact, I think we had just come off the Texas A&M loss. Was it, people? I'm trying to get an idea of when that game was. So our last broadcast was on the 6th. So yeah, so it was right after South Carolina 38-24 win. So kind of try and get caught up here on things that have happened. And of course, after that big South Carolina win in Gainesville, Gators went to Bryan College Station in Texas, and they lost to Texas A&M by a final score of 41-38. And that's when everything went to heck in a handbasket. And kind of was around the same time in which I decided to take off for a couple weeks, because the LSU game got postponed, and then the Missouri game got postponed, and the Missouri game was played last week. So that's where we're at right now. Now, for the Missouri game, they took on Missouri game. It was at home in Gainesville. Again, it was a spaced out crowd, probably about 16, 17,000. Um, and I'll get the exact numbers of how many people there were because come to think of that, I would love to know how many people, well, what the attendance was for that game. Let's see here. That's play by play. That's Buck game. 12,000 and 40, and they were limiting people to 17,000. So they got a good capacity crowd of 12,049. Good, decent crowd considering everything that went on. And they took on Missouri Tiger team that were at the time was 1-3 going into the contest. And man, Kyle Trask, you talk about a guy possessed. This kid played an awesome. This kid just played an awesome game on the day because he was 21 of 36, 345 yards. He threw 4 touchdowns on the day and only had 1 interception. Now, the story of the game, though, was not the interception that he threw or how good he was playing. The story was what happened during the course of the game. Now, let's kind of set this up for you. Let's see here. I'm going to play this on YouTube here in just a minute. So let's see if I can find it here. Okay, so I'm going to do this right here, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this up here for you here in just a minute here. So let me explain to you. Let me explain to you what happened. It was nearly halftime. The team was not playing great at the time. They were kind of playing like sluggish, and so Dan Mullen was kind of upset by what happened. Dan Mullen was kind of upset by what was going on, and he let it be known. As they were about ready to go into halftime, he was going, according to Mullen, he was going to find the referees and give them a piece of his mind, more or less. But what happened in the end, as you're going to find out, it turned into something more. It kind of turned into something a little bit more serious, and we're going to play this for you here in just a minute. So, as I said, they're going into halftime. There was a play in which Kyle Trask. I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead. Let's play this out, and then we'll come back and talk about this because I want you guys to understand why what happened on the field, and take a good close eye at Kyle Trask, the quarterback for the Florida Gators. So we're going to go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. Again, this is a Florida Gator game going to halftime, and we're going to play this for you right now. So take a listen.
A little bit of a skirmish near the line of scrimmage, and everybody gets in there and says, come on now. We got some tempers flaring over there. I believe that was Coach Mullen, and now this is starting to get a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, Florida needs to get out of here. They got a big game next week against Georgia, and I think that's what Dan Mullen was trying to do, is prevent any one of his players from doing something stupid. This is getting ugly. This punch is being thrown.
Yeah, that's getting beyond ugly. That's another one thrown.
Zachary Carter in there for Florida.
This
is getting bad. I mean, there's going to be some severe ejections. This is absolutely the last thing that Dan Mullen wanted for his ball club going into the cocktail party next week.
They are having a whole lot of problems trying to break this up. And something happened after that play that incited Dan Mullen and the Gator squad. And I believe Kyle Trask might have taken a shot late, and you don't see Dan Mullen could have some suspended players in time. This is Trask on the pass. And oh my. That is Trajan Jeffcoat on the shot.
Now you got Dan Mullen and Eli Drinkwitz going at it.
Well, I mean,
and as you see right there, that's what started all this. And the shot that Trask took, as you saw right there a moment ago, really played a part in the on-field brawl that had taken place. That's courtesy of ESPN. Now, what happened? Now, the results of that, and what happened is that Dan Mullen, he got fined $25,000, but also some suspensions came down that way too. Graham Hall of Gatorsports.com, who you've had on the show before. I had a chance to talk to him before we came on the show tonight. Zach Carter and Antoine Powell both received suspensions, and because of that, they'll have to sit out for the first half of Saturday's ball game at Georgia, and we're going to talk all about that here in just a minute. But the way it looks like, if you go back and you see that replay and you can watch it on YouTube, what you see is Kyle Trask getting hit, and then a major melee breaks out. But what you also see is Dan Mullen running out on the field, which probably instigated everything. Now, it should be pointed out that Mullen was not trying to instigate the brawl or trying to, make his place fight or anything. In fact, he was trying to break the crowd up. If you look back on that footage very closely, and what you see though is that Mullen was trying to go to his players, and get him off the field because he wanted to have a conversation with the referee. Now, Kyle Trask turned out to be fine. Came in the second half, played very well. Gators going to win the ball game. Powell and Carter get suspended. Dan Mullen was fined $25,000. Now, why is this important? It's because of what happens this week, people. It is probably the biggest game of the year. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. The Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs in Jacksonville, Orange Bowl, 3:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon, which reminds me I have to tell the lovely one I'm not available because obviously I will be glued in the front of the TV watching this game. Now, Powell and Carter, they are big time players and they are very important to this club. But let's not overstate this though. The Gators have some great players on the team, and their defense played a lot better due to upgrades in the defense a little bit. So, excuse me. So, with everything that's happening, it looks like that this Florida Gator team finally may have found its niche, finally may have found its defense, and hopefully now can start playing a little bit better as they take on Georgia this coming Saturday afternoon in what's known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. As I said, 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson will have the call for you. Should be an outstanding game. And, of course, when Florida plays Georgia, you never know what's going to happen. Make no mistake about it. Let's see here. As a matter of fact, if you will allow me to look at some what I like to call pregame notes about the game, anything interesting that we have going on here. Because like I said, let's see here. I mean, I would think that I mean, you go back. This is a rivalry that's been going on since 1915. Okay, Georgia leads the series 52-43. Then several years later, they decided to move the game to Jacksonville, and since that time, Georgia's led the series 46-40. They've only had one tie, and that was back in 1994. That was in Gainesville. Then in let's see here. So, and by the way, both teams are ranked going into the game. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's going to be an exciting ball game. I think what we're going to look at is a Dan Mullen bring the whole. I think Dan Mullen's ready to bring the kitchen sink, and I think as our number 8 Florida Gators take on number 5 Georgia, I think what we're going to see is a barn burner of a game. I don't think that it's going to be a snoozer. I think it's going to come down to one of the last plays in the game. And I tell you what, keep your eyes on a couple of guys. Kyle Trask. Also keep your eye on Jacob Copeland. He's been playing some very good ball lately, okay? And also keep your eye on the Florida Gator defense. That defense has been playing some outstanding ball. They really have been dropping the hammer big time on some quarterbacks here lately. So nothing's going to surprise me. Nothing is going to surprise me. In fact, I talk about Kyle Trask. Here's a little note. According to the SEC Network, Kyle Trask's 18 touchdown passes this year has set an SEC record for touchdown passes through the first 4 games of a season, and he's tied for 4th nationally in touchdown passes. But here's the thing. Here's the whole thing about it. He's not getting the national recognition. In fact, all you're hearing talk is about Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson Tigers. And boy, they had a tough game this past weekend. They came out and they won it, but still they had a tough game this past weekend. So you tend to wonder, when all of a sudden done, will Trask get the notoriety that he deserves? Because I'm gonna tell you what, Trask is an outstanding quarterback, and I think that he's going to. I think he's going to set the world on fire. Now, let's see here. The game be on CBS. Then they have Arkansas at Vanderbilt versus Kentucky. Then they go to Tennessee. Then they're back home for the makeup game against LSU on the 12th, followed by the SEC championship game on the 19th. And the reason why I say that, because there's still a lot of football left to be played, people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left to be played. Anything and everything can happen. And I'm going to tell you right here and now. I'm telling you right here and now. On November 5th at 8:13, the Florida Gators will indeed be playing in the SEC championship. That is my prediction. Okay, and you may think I'm crazy. You think I'm a little bit nuts. Of course, everybody knows that I'm nuts, but that's another story altogether. But I truly believe that this Florida Gator team is going to be doing an outstanding job, and we're going to wait and see what happens here. Obviously, you guys want to chime in, have any comments or anything, welcome to chime in. But yeah, I think it's going to be an outstanding game. I am not going to be surprised at all if the Gators beat them and beat Georgia and rise up in the ranks. This is going to be probably the best game of the day. So stay tuned for that. Now, as always, we like to go around and take a look and find out what's happening around college football and tell you about the games that are happening this weekend. I can tell you there are some other games that are going on. by the way, Packers are up on the Giants 7-3. Second quarter, they're in underway. No college football apparently on this Thursday night, which is kind of strange. But actually, Utah versus Nevada, they're playing right now. That score is 21-9. Nevada has a lead over Utah State. Now let's get you caught up on the games that are going to be happening this weekend, and I truly believe that there are going to be some outstanding games this weekend. Yesterday we had like 5 or 6 games played. Miami Ball State looked like to be a good game. Miami won that game 38-31. Central Michigan under Jim McElwain, they got a win over Ohio University. That looked like to be a good game. Let's see, Utah State, Nevada, we talked about. Wyoming versus Colorado State. Tomorrow night, Miami will take on NC State. At NC State, that'll be a 6:30 contest. FS1 will have BYU or Boise State. Let's see, then on Saturday, Michigan will be at Indiana. Now, some interesting things are happening out of Michigan because an insider has learned that Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of Michigan, is starting to get an itch and wanting to come back into the National Football League. Keep our eyes on that as the season goes on. And you kind of tend to wonder maybe if Michigan faithful are starting to get upset with Harbaugh, or does Harbaugh really just want to move on and go back into the NFL? So we're gonna watch that very closely. This is interesting. Arizona State will be at USC. That's 11 a.m. game on Fox, which would be like 9 a.m. on the West Coast. Other games, South Florida will be at Memphis. That'll be on ESPN Plus for you guys who are interested. Nebraska will be at Northwestern. Michigan State will be at Iowa. That's 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN. We already know about Florida, Georgia. I've talked about that a lot, obviously. Other games to keep our eyes on during the course of the day. Pittsburgh will be at Florida State. Baylor, they'll be at Iowa State. That's a 6 o'clock Central Time contest. But here's what's interesting. Number 1, Clemson, it's going to go up against number 4, Notre Dame. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen bits and pieces of Notre Dame, so I don't know a lot about them. But from everything that I've heard, I hear that Notre Dame is a very good team. Well, they have to be if they're number 4 ranked in the country. And I don't know. You gotta kind of like get the feeling that Clemson could be on the verge of an upset. Obviously, we'll be watching that game. I know I'm going to be watching that game on Saturday night. Hopefully, celebrating after a Gator win over the Fighting Georgia Bulldogs. Rutgers will be at Ohio State. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Other games in college football have either been postponed or canceled due to COVID-related issues, including Purdue at Wisconsin. So how they reschedule those games is will be interesting to see what happens. Okay, so we talked about the Gators. We talked about college football and the games that are happening this weekend. Nobody's joining me. I don't know why. Well, I've been so busy. Honestly and truthfully, I've been so busy with this week with some other things, and really haven't had the time to put a quality show together this week. So, anyways, I hope you like what you saw. So, let's see here. Any other news that is coming out? What's my thing that I had here a moment ago? All right. All right. Taking a look at some other things that are going around the league. No big news is happening. We talked about in college football about Jim Harbaugh possibly going back into the NFL, and Cal Washington game that got canceled due to COVID, and Navy had an outbreak. And Kyle Whittingham of Utah signed a 4-year extension through the 2027 season. So that's kind of that they got him locked up. So don't expect him to be searching for another job anytime soon. Well, so I guess this is going to wrap it up here for today. I hope you liked. I hope you liked it. I'm going to go back and look at this and hopefully give you a better show next week. Hopefully, we can have another guest on and talk a little bit about Florida Gator football. But we're going to go ahead and end it here right now and give you all time to watch a little bit of what's going on in the National Football League as the Packers are, last I saw, 7-3 in the second quarter over the 49ers. So I hope you like the show. Give me some comments, leave them in the comments section. Love to see it. And we're going to end the show right now. You all take care. Have a blessed next week. And hopefully come next week, Jacksonville can be dripping in that orange and blue. Okay. Vince good. Vince just hopped on. How about to the LA Chargers to replace Anthony Lynn? Ooh. How I answer me this question. How would you feel about? How would you feel? Yes, you are late to the game. I'm shocked and appalled that you're here, Vince. I'm about ready to sign off, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. San Diego's been having issues, and I know that Harbaugh really loves the West Coast. I could eventually see that happen. In fact, I'm wondering if that's the reason why we're starting to hear the Harbaugh rumors start developing. I mean, if you really stop and you think about this for just a minute, the Chargers are what, 2-5 on the year. They haven't won a division game this season, and if they keep going on this pace, you might very well see a change there. Why not? Be a great fit. Harbaugh loves the West Coast. He's a West Coast guy. Coached the San Francisco, coached the 49ers. We saw them in the playoffs. Just when you think that your mind is pretty much clear, then this comes up. I mean, and I think I think it would be a very, very interesting move to see what happens with that. So, if you look at Michigan and see what they're doing right now. Let's see here. Okay. If you look at them and see what they're doing, and let's keep one thing in mind. They started their season late due to the COVID. They're right now they're 1-1 in the Big Ten. They lost to Michigan State on Saturday. They take on Indiana this weekend at Indiana. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're only going to play 8 games this year, and the Ohio State game is going to be at Ohio State. I don't know. I think given the schedule, I think maybe Harbaugh might want to go. You know, so they lose at the end of the game. Who loses at the end of the game? What are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about Chargers? How they lose at the end of the game? Well, yeah, of course, most teams do because they can't hold on to leads late in the games. I mean, if you stop and think about 31-30, 39-29, 30-27, 38-31, yeah, most of the games that the Chargers have been in, they all the games that they've lost have been by a combination of 3, 6, 13, 21, 24. 5 losses by a combined score of 24 points. 1, 2, 3 of those losses were by 3 points. 38-30. Chiefs, they lost 23-20. Later on in the year, they lost to the Saints 30-27. And, of course, they lost to the Broncos last week 31-30. So, yeah, I mean, they're a team that does not finish late. So, what makes teams so good, what makes the teams good is how well you finish off opponents. And believe me, I lived through all that. I know what that is all about. Not having those games, not being able to finish off those games. So I really truly know what it's like. So, but hey, it's all in the days. That's why they played the games, right? So down the road, hopefully they can get their stuff together. But we're going to find out here in the coming weeks. Okay, well, I've been on here for almost an hour talking to myself, and hopefully on this playback, it's going to be better. Hope you've liked the new browser that I've gone into. Hope you can see me a lot better. So we'll be back next Thursday. We'll talk about the Georgia game. We'll talk about the Gator game. Any news that's happening around the NFL. And bring you the latest news, what's going on. Hope you like what you've been. Hope you like it. And so, as I get ready to sign off, you all be sure to have a great weekend. And as I always like to say, go Gators.
Tripping and on and blow, 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 tripping and on and blow.
Saturday afternoon, 3:30, CBS TV. Until next week, y'all have a good one. Go Gators.
Look at me, whole lot of gator when you look at me, look at that, whole lot of flavor when you look at me, we have been here a little 100,000 deep, y'all on the field and they treat us important. Ain't no Nike, we switched up the Jordan, make him play, cause we player made, all the championships.
Have a good one, people.
Pouring on a drink in a Gatorade, no fly interception, that's a repo. On a bowl of one knee, think I'm Tebow. And I take it to the house like I'm Lito. Gay, walked in, think I'm big money. Everybody with me want bliss. Everybody in the crowd get a chop. We gon' get live, you ain't saying that. Damn, mother man, we from the cloud. This for ESPN talking down. Ain't no lucky, but we in the field. We in the swamp with no chill.